One label you often hear put on Donald Trump is narcissist. Is this true? Is it true that he is one, not just true that people call him one? Narcissistic personality disorder is one of several types of personality disorders, is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, a disregard for others' feelings, an inability to handle any criticism, a sense of entitlement, and a lack of empathy for others. If any of you think that this describes Mr. Trump, or doesn't for that matter, keep watching. The metric used to distinguish between common and rare disorders is 200,000 U.S. cases per year. Above that number, the case is common. Below it, it's rare. Narcissism is rare. Narcissistic personality disorder is found more commonly in men. Officially, the cause is unknown, but likely involves a combination of genetic and environmental factors. When authorities say a cause is unknown, you know this is where astrology comes in. Greek Western astrology, of course, concerns itself with way more than just sun signs. Ancient Greek astrology concerns itself with places in your life. The place of your physical body, the place of your wealth, the place of your siblings, the place of your home and parents, etc. Sun signs take a very, very small, although extremely important, part of Greek Western astrology and shrinks it down further to cover personality and temperament as seen only from the natal sign of the sun. The four pillars is a Taoist lens to also see the personality and temperament of the natal sun and accurately multiplies the possibilities. There are only 12 sun signs, but there are 518,400 possible four pillars charts. With the four pillars, we have a baseline of conditions solid enough to tell if a person may be a narcissist or not. Genetic factors are covered by science. Environmental factors can be utilized by science and Greek Western astrology separately or together. I believe the four pillars can tell if the native has the personality and temperamental profile to be a narcissist. Let me explain why. There are lots of ways to divide and classify people, but the four pillars can classify you according to element: water, wood, fire, earth, or metal. This is not arbitrary like the Myers-Briggs test, where you answer a series of questions and how you answer places you. Given a birthplace, birth date, and birth time, the astronomy and mathematics objectively tells you what you are without needing your personal judgment. Although what the pillars say and what you vouch for yourself just about always matches up. In fact, while the four pillars and your own judgment do end up lining up, the pillars will give you a comprehensive framework and far more detail and definition than your personal judgment alone. Again, you can divide people up into 5 basic types. Water people are primarily into curiosity and learning. They gather experience. Wood people are primarily into initiative and creativity. They combine experience. Fire people are into expression and opinion. They select experience. Earth people are into harmony and balance. They distribute experience. Metal people are into order and logic. They arrange experience. Yes, you can have all these aims in you, but only one of these will be the primary motivator for your life. The element on top of the day pillar, the day master, shows you this. And remember, given accurate birth information, we find this out objectively by formula and not subjectively by asking you questions. Keeping in mind that an objective measure does not mean necessarily accurate. It simply means that it's done objectively without subjective rule entering in. As I see it, narcissism is a dysfunction of Earth when an Earth person deviates from being healthy. I admit this is an astrological amendment to the official definition of narcissism, one that, as far as I know, is unique to me. As I've said in a previous video, Earth is a Taoist description of when the stuff of the universe gets distributed. Metal arranges, water gathers, wood combines, and fire selects. Earth distributes. Ideally, an Earth person forms a center around which people, projects, and events revolve, and by distributing information, ideas, accounts, and rewards, coordinates everybody's efforts. If the distributing is good, they make sure that everyone gets their fair share. Narcissists don't do that. Narcissists don't form a center so that everyone gets their fair share. They get in the center so that everything revolves around them. They use their position in the center to make sure more share goes to them. This alone, as I see it, shows why narcissism is more common in men than in women, because our culture fiercely restricts women from being in the center of important doings, no matter how capable they may be. Let me repeat the list of characteristics attributed to narcissists. 1. An inflated sense of their own importance. 2. A deep need for excessive attention and admiration. 3. Troubled relationships. 4. A disregard for others' feelings. 5. An inability to handle any criticism. 6. A sense of entitlement. And 7. A lack of empathy for others. Points 1, 2, and 6 directly attributable to the desire to have the whole world revolve around them. Points 3, 4, 5, and 7 would be secondary effects caused by the primary 3. Does Trump cover these points? I think being married 3 times and having a history of allegedly cheating on his wives, sometimes while being on vacation with his family, indicates troubled relationships. On January 23, 2016, while he was running for president, Trump gave the following quote: "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?" I would argue that this quote alone shows both a lack of empathy and a sense of entitlement. Now, far-right members of his base will argue that Trump was obviously making a joke, and this showed his sense of humor. Humor for the far right is ridiculing the ridiculous. The left does this too, but the right and the left differ in what they regard as ridiculous. Since the far right ultimately advocates for strength and against weakness, ridiculing the ridiculous for them inevitably devolves into punching down on the weak. Trump lacks empathy for the other. The other for him and his base is the weak. While Trump's base agrees with him that weak people have no reason to exist unless they're trying to make themselves strong, a refusal to empathize with others, weak or otherwise, covers point 7. Is Trump an Earth by the 4 pillars? You bet he is. The 4 pillars tradition says he has, and I agree, a phenomenally strong chart. In terms of the personality you see, his 4 pillars are just as responsible for his sway over his base as his Western Greek chart. Let's see how strong his chart is by showing both how well the elements support what he wants in life and how well the individual pieces of the chart fit together. As you can see, the 4 pillars chart consists of 8 pieces. If the day master is Earth, as Trump's is, then having pieces of fire, which feeds Earth, and other pieces of Earth will contribute to the strength of the chart. Any wood, metal, or water may contribute functionality and versatility to the life, but will not contribute to the chart's strength. Trump's Chinese animals, his earthly branches, consist of a mixture of elements, but they are primarily one element. This is true of everybody. His year is dog. Dog is primarily yang earth. His month is horse. Horse is primarily yin fire. His day is sheep. Sheep is primarily yin earth. His hour is snake. Snake is primarily yang fire. His year is topped by yang fire. His month is topped by yang wood. His day master is yin earth, and his hour is topped by yin earth as well. With the exception of his yang wood month stem, every piece of Trump's 4 pillars is either fire or earth. One must point out that, as dog and horse are harmonious together, the wood in Trump's month helps his year to improvise on his feet when talking. That would be good enough, but when a yang wood stem and a yin earth day master combine forces, which they do readily, it generates yang earth energy. One can argue that even the wood in Trump's 4 pillars contributes to his strength. Another part of the four pillars tradition states that when an element is in season, all of that element in the chart becomes intensified. As he is born in horse month, all of the fire in Trump's chart is in season. It gets kicked into higher gear. He already has 3 pieces of fire to feed his 4 pieces of earth. To have all that fire turned up a couple of notches in intensity makes it burn all the hotter and brighter. Elementally then, Donald Trump's 4 pillars are phenomenally strong. How well then do the pieces of the chart fit together? Fitting together happens mostly through the animals, whether they are in harmony or in conflict. The dog and horse classically fit together. No question they are a harmony, analogous to the Western signs Libra and Gemini being in trine. Horse and sheep, too, are a harmony, analogous to Gemini and Cancer being in Antitia. Sheep and snake, analogous to Cancer and Taurus, are true neutrals. You can make the effort, you can join them together, no problem. In terms of fitting together, Trump's pillars have 3 difficulties, none of them agonizing, just annoying to Trump. Dog and sheep work at cross purposes, which in this case is a mild conflict. As the sheep wants joy and the dog wants generosity, what the sheep wants is not enough for the dog, and what the dog wants is excessive for the sheep. The sheep thinks the dog is something of an aggressive brute, and the dog thinks the sheep is a recessive wimp. Horse and snake don't connect. Horse and snake don't conflict, they disconnect. No energies of any kind naturally flow between them. This is neither harmony nor conflict. When Trump tries to think on his feet, which he does when he's being the wood horse, and at the same time is aiming for the respect of the audience, which he does when he's being the earth snake, a WTF phrase will escape his mouth. It's a WTF phrase because the parts don't naturally want to connect. The dog wants to be pragmatic. Pragmatism means being both flexible and not letting obsolete rules or principles trap you. Pragmatism is why Trump will contradict himself constantly and mostly not get hurt by it. Both the young fire of the fire dog and the young earth of the dog itself contribute to his strength. The snake wants to plan ahead and desires respect. When the dog is being pragmatic and changing its mind constantly, it freezes his ability to plan ahead for the future while he's doing it. Also, while changing his mind constantly doesn't cost Trump respect, it also means he gains no respect while being pragmatic, which is in the general public just about all the time. Trump uses his snake personality when he wants to assert authority. If the snake gains no respect when Trump acts like a dog, the dog unfortunately gains him public and institutional opponents and enemies when he acts like a snake. This is not particularly happy. These 3 difficulties gain added importance, not because they're so terrible, but because they're almost the only chart weaknesses Trump has, juxtaposed against his phenomenal strengths. The last chart weakness comes not from the abundance of strengthening elements, but the entire lack of one of the 5 elements. Trump's 4 pillars have no water in them at all. How does that shake out? It means he has no natural sense of curiosity at all. Donald Trump only learns because the information helps him to do something he really wants to do. Donald John Trump has no natural desire to learn just for the sake of learning. Astrologically then, I re-ask the question, is Donald Trump a narcissist? If narcissism is a dysfunction of Earth, then the astrology should show, and it takes both the Greek chart and the 4 pillars chart to fully show this, that Donald John Trump's Earth doesn't function correctly. The 12 houses in the Greek chart show places where fortune is either good or bad, where it flourishes or not. The Greek system has 2 kinds of houses, both working together, 12 equal-sized houses from the ascendant and 12 whole signs also marked by the ascendant. The 10th sign significates for action and profession. If the 10th sign happens to be Gemini, and therefore the ruler of the 10th sign is Mercury, if Mercury is in poor shape in the birth chart, action and profession in the native's life is going to suffer. The Taoists say that each of the 5 planets stands in for one of the 5 elements. Jupiter is wood, Mars is fire, Saturn is earth, Venus is metal, and Mercury is water. From this, your YouTuber has concluded, and confirmed with real-life examples, that the better off Jupiter is in your Greek Western natal chart, the healthier and more solid any wood will be in your four pillars chart. I have also concluded to my theoretical and practical satisfaction that using the Greek chart to judge how elementally strong a planet is for the sake of the four pillars chart works consistently. The very feature in his Greek chart that gives him sway over his base, his natal sun eclipsing his natal moon, also undercuts his ability to build and maintain successful businesses. If you assert, as the late Robert Schmidt of Project Hindsight did, and I agree, that Trump is an early Virgo rising and not a late Leo rising with the ascendant conjunct the royal fixed star Regulus, then all of Trump's planets in Cancer are in the 11th house of gains from business. The exaltation lord of Cancer, Jupiter, is in the 2nd house, another money house. But the sign ruler of Cancer, the moon, is eclipsed. An eclipsed moon ruling Cancer in his nativity undercuts the money-making power of Mercury, Venus, and Saturn in his 11th. He can bring money to him, but he can't build on it. If he could, he wouldn't have had to bankrupt himself 7 times. But as ultimately bad as the eclipsed moon is for his Greek chart, it has equally bad effects on his 4 pillars as well. Taoism says that 5 planets have rulership over 5 elements: Jupiter for wood, Mars for fire, Saturn for earth, Venus for metal, and Mercury for water. What does Taoism have to say about the sun and moon? Because of his Greek Western natal chart, Yang in Trump's 4 pillars is phenomenally strong, but his yin is drastically weak. His yang eclipses his yin just as his sun eclipses his moon. I have already asked if Trump is an earth in his 4 pillars. You bet. Absolutely. He is a yin earth. His earth works to the extent that he can make people, events, and projects revolve around him. It fails to work because his ability to coordinate everything around him, once everything revolves around him, just can't keep up. As he is a yin earth, his earth functions badly, is dysfunctional because his earth doesn't have what it takes to be yin. How does this work out in real life? He has an unprecedented ability to summon people to him, but people do not tend to come to him of their own accord. Let me qualify that precisely. Because the yang parts of his 4 pillars work brilliantly, he does draw people to him magnetically as a powerful masculine presence. But once the group is around him, the expansive and receptive part of him that has to take over and coordinate everybody and everything gets overwhelmed by the task, time after time and throughout his life. Just prior to the 2016 election, Melania was interviewed by Anderson Cooper. I quote, "Sometimes I say I have 2 boys at home. I have my young son and I have my husband." Knowing his charts, I don't believe I'm falsely reading into this comment too much that Trump's day pillar, the way he sees himself and how he relates to a spouse, is weaker than the, please note this, genuinely young, manly presence he has in the general public. Did I bypass the question, is Trump a narcissist? Perhaps I did. I look at the 7 criteria given to categorize a narcissist, and I conclude that Donald Trump covers all 7. I give astrological reasons why they are covered, using both Greek astrology and the Taoist Chinese 4 pillars. The DSM-5 is the official psychological guideline determining if a person has a personality disorder or not. I'm sure that only input from a licensed psychologist would have any legal standing, and I'm no licensed psychologist. But if you ask me if Donald John Trump is a narcissist, I say yes.